Welcome to our Amud Yomi Shiur. We have amazing, fascinating topics to deal in this year today. We're going to deal with so many interesting things, such as elections, such as democracy, such as can a convert, be in charge of the shul's kitchen, yes or no? And we're going to discuss haircuts, and we're going to discuss yichus, so all types. So you better stay with us. Says the Heilige Gemore. Omar Rav Yehuda Omar Rav, third line from the top of the page, Ein Vav Amud Beis. Yeah, Omar Yehuda Omar Rav. We said yesterday, before we continue, we have to quote the Mishnah. What did we say in the Mishnah? That when a person wants to marry a girl, we're not going now, let's say she's from a family of Kohanim, and you were suggested a shidduch. Now you have to check 4 generations in each direction. 4 of her maternal ancestors, the mothers, the matriarchs, and 4 mothers from her father's side. 8 mothers altogether. Yeah, we have the chart yesterday we had, and people were asking. So okay. So basically, the people were asking, how would one ever get married if you have to check so many generations? You have to start digging into the archives of the Inquisition in Spain. Okay, good question. Let's see what the Gemara is to say. Amar Yehuda Amar Rav. Says Rav Yehuda, quoting Rav. Rav Yehuda was the Talmud of Shmuel and then the Talmud of Rav. So Rav Yehuda is quoting Rav. Zu divrei Rabbi Meir. That necessity, that requirement to check so deep, dig so deep into the family is only according to Rabbi Meir. Aval Chachamim oimrim kol mishpoches becheskas kashrus and oimdos. Chachamim say no. You don't have to start digging into the past of the family to dig up dirt about mamzeus v'chulei, because we assume that a regular normative family, unless known otherwise, they're known to be a regular family in the community. They're muchzak b'kashrus, and that's halach, and that's chachamim. So this was just the stringent opinion of Rabbi Meir to do all this checkup, and really, according to chachamim, as long as the family seems to be okay, it's okay. Fragt the Gemara, who did he quote again? Rav. Ravida quoted Rav. Fragt the Gemara, Eini, is that so? Omar Rav Chama bar Guria Omar Rav. Another opinion quoting Rav, saying otherwise. What did Rav say? Says Rav regarding our Mishnah, Mishnah Seinu, our Mishnah only applies, we qualify the Mishnah, Shekoyer Olav Ar, which means, yeah, this opinion, yeah, quoting Rav, is telling you that our Mishnah doesn't apply to a regular family. Our Mishnah applies to a family when there was ir'ur. There was a question raised regarding this family. Only if you want to marry a family that has a question regarding that, about them, something questionable, then you have to do the checkup. But when you're suggested a regular normal family, then no. Now, why is that a question? What's wrong? Doesn't make sense. Why? Because before we're going to explain what is the questionable family, that will be discussed soon, I promise, B'ezras Hashem. But first of all, what's the question? What's bothering the Gemara? The question is like this. You told me, Rav Yehuda b'Shem Rav, that Rabbi Meir, he's Machmir. He's a Machmir man, Stam Mishnah Rabbi Meir. Our Mishnah is a Stam Mishnah Rabbi Meir. Achumra, Rabbanon, the mainstream opinion, they say, go ahead, marry whoever you want. What do you mean? But if our Mishnah, according to the second opinion, b'Shem Rav, our Mishnah is telling me that we're talking here about a questionable, problematic family. You're telling me that even then Chachamim would say, do what you want? How can you ignore the big problem of the family, right? That's a question. What did Rav say? It's a steal within Rav. Now, what does it mean, a family with an arar, with an ir'ur, with a question? Machlokes Rashi and Rambam. Rashi and Rambam argue. Rashi says that there were 2 edim that testify that there was a call, that there was a strong rumor that something is bad with the family. Which means, according to Rashi, that's what I understand, I hope I'm not wrong, if there are 2 edim who tell you, listen, the grandma, mamzeres, grandpa, mums, what is there to check? What are you checking? Are you going to check the kashrus, Rabbi? Are you checking the kashrus of McDonald's in Tokyo? There's nothing to check, it's strafe, yeah? So what are you checking, right? Therefore, says Rashi, when is it that we have to check? Not the run-of-the-mill family and not the most problematic. The Eidim who say that there was a rumor. the Eidim who tell us when you suggested the Shidduch, two Eidim come to you, to Beis Din, whoever, and they tell you we are two Eidim and we've been investigated by Beis Din. We don't know that she's a Mamzeres. We know that there was a call, that there was a voice, a rumor, a halachically strong rumor, which is at least a day and a half, that there is such a something happened of Mamzeres. Then you have to check 4 generations up each direction. Rambam says no. Rambam says that even if there are that only only if there are Eidim that there is Mamzeris in the family. So what is there to check? We don't know which branch of the family, you're taking. We know that, let's say 2 or 3 generations ago, there was Mamzeris. We don't know if this cousin comes from them or maybe from a different branch of the family. That's a shaila. We know Nitma. We know that in an extended family there is Mamzerus. Then you have to check 4 generations up. But less than that, you don't. And that's soon we'll see the halacha. So what's the question? What did Rav say? Did Rav say it's an extra chumrah of Rabbi Meir, or did Rav say no? It's mamish a family that is problematic, and surely Chachamim would agree that you have to check. Answers the Gemara, simple, machlekes. Man de matniha loy matniha, which means there's a machlekes. What did the Rav say? Rav Yuda b'shem Rav is learning that we're talking about a normative family. There are no questions, and only Rabbi Meir is a machmir. Mashe'enkin Rav Chama bar Guria claims that Rav said otherwise. He said no. Rav said that really everyone agrees that it's a family with problems, and both Rabbi Meir and Chachamim agree that such a family with bad name, bad rumors, they have to be checked, and otherwise no. Now, Ikadamri, some say even simpler. There's another answer, similar in style, but simpler. Omar v'yodam Zudi Rabbi Meir. Again, we're repeating. It's a good chazorah now. Omar v'yodam Zudi Rabbi Meir. That necessity, that requirement to check 4 generations each direction, the very chumrah, that's Rabbi Meir. But Chachamim say a regular family, meaning Rabbi Meir also spoke about a regular family. Rabbi Meir was machmir in a regular family to check them 4 directions each, 2 directions, 4 generations. Chachamim say no, a regular family, a guy in the community comes to Shachris every day, nice from guy, no funny stories, you don't know there's a reform grandmother was divorced. No. The cheskes is kashrus, but Rav Chama bar Guria Omar Rav Rav is not arguing, he's complimenting what he said. And he says, I agree with what you said. True. When it's a normal family, only Rabbi Meir is machmir to require the extra bedika and investigation. But if there is a family when there was an irur, when there was a question, there was something funny going on with Eidim, one level or the other, that there's been funny business there, then everyone agrees, even Chachamim agree, that you have to check that family. And I checked and I looked up Shulchan Aruch this Sunday morning, and basically that's what it says there. A regular family, nothing is known to be problematic with them, then you don't have to check anything. But if there is an ara, Shulchan Aruch, Kedar Koi Paskas, like the Rambam, if there are Eidim that there's some kind of Mamzeres somewhere out there, we don't know what, then you're asking me, Yosef, who'd ever get married? Bevakasha. If she suggested a shidduch with such problematic people, you don't have koyach to dig into the archives of Poland and Spain, so don't marry them. Go for another shidduch. Tell your daughter, I'm sorry, your sweetheart is not for us. You dafka want the family with a big question mark? Bevakasha. So check 4 generations up. No pain, no gain. It's that simple. But if you have a normal, nice, run-of-the-mill, good family, an okay family, nobody says, no, nobody. Rabbi Meir says you have to check. We don't follow Rabbi Meir, we follow Chachamim. Having said that, let's remember another point we said, another point from the beginning of the Perek, which is Nifsak in Shulchan Aruch. Unbelievable. Tell your friends and family to check into the midos of the family is not just a nice idea for Shalom Bayis, future Shalom Bayis, it's a halachic requirement. Because we said, and that's halacha l'maisa, Rabbi, if a family are, I would say, warmongers, they always fight with the whole world. They're never happy. They always fight with the gabbai and the rabbi and the neighbor and the shviger and the kindergarten teacher. They fight with the whole world. It means that they're mamzerim. I mean, very likely. Or if you see somebody very cruel, if you see somebody who's extremely cruel, very nice Haredi, cruel still, although he's Haredi. So then what could be comes from the nisinim? The Sinim were cruel people because they took revenge from Shaul very cruelly, and therefore you have to check the midos of the family. You have to let them use the midos machine. Sure. Yes. Question time. Ein bodkin memizbech ulamala. What does it mean? Let's say she is really a kohenis. In the first case of the Mishnah, you're checking for kohenis, and at some point, well, this is obviously sadly doesn't apply today, but you see that her grandfather, great grandfather, some whatever, at some point you hit a person, a man, one of her male ancestors, was working, was serving in Beis Hamikdash. Then you don't have to investigate further, yeah, going up and up in the family tree, because the mere fact he was in the Mizbeach means what? That he's okay. Why? My time, how do you know? Answers the Gemara, if not for the committee, I'm not joking now. By the way, you thought I was joking. Yesterday we said in Beis Hamikdash were Sanhedrin. Where did the big Sanhedrin, the supreme Sanhedrin, the Supreme Court, the way it's supposed to be, where did they sit? In Yerushalayim, not the pictures of today. 71 big tzaddikim, they were sitting in Beis Hamikdash, right? You turn right from Shar in the corner, right? And there you have the Lishkas Hagozis. And the Sanhedrin, what they were busy with many hours of the day was filtering and checking the yichus of Koyanim and Levim. So they did their job. They are the highest court and highest Gedolim. So if they allowed Mr. Cohen or Mr. Kaplan or Mr. Weber Kanovich to work in Beis Hamikdash, you can rest assured that he is a very miyuchas dike Kohen, no mamzer, no paslas, no anything, and no cholol, and therefore we made it to the other side. His branch of the family is, as starling, as the pristine, is good. You don't have to check any further. You don't have to be holier than thou. Okay. The same applies to who? To the Levim. The same applies to the Levim. If you're looking for a Leviah woman, in other words, she is the daughter of Levim, and you hit upon a gem, her grandfather, let's say, was playing the flute in the Beis Hamikdash as a Levi, then I know that everything is fine. My timer, what's the reason? Answers the Gemara, Shisham. What I told you before applies here more. It says, the Mishnah in Maseches Midos that explains, that describes the shape and architecture of Beis Hamikdash, describes Lishkas Hagozis. According to the Rambam, it was a different place. There was a committee of one sort, one type or the other, that would check the miyachse kihuna miyachse levia. They would be the miyachasim. They would really investigate well into each and every kohen and each and every Levi, hours every day. The Rashi says to check that anybody kohen or Levi that come to work are absolutely clean yichus, and therefore once hit on that, Baruch Hashem, and boidkin min mizbeach ulamala, v'lo misanhedrin ulamala. Now let's say she's either kohen, Levi, or Yisrael, the girl, and now what are you checking? That she's not a mamzeres, nesina, givoinis, amoini, mitzri, all the good business. So now misanhedrin ulamala. Once you found out that her Zaidi was actually a member of the Sanhedrin, now Sanhedrin means two things. Usually when we say Sanhedrin, automatically what comes to mind is the 71 people. But Sanhedrin means two things. Either Sanhedrin of 71, that's the highest court, so to speak, the Supreme Court, or the Basin of 23. What's the difference? Sanhedrin of 71 were in charge of communal, of national affairs. For example, to go out to war. Who decided whether to go out to war? The leftists in Kaplan or Bibi Netanyahu? Well, there should be, in a perfect world, should be who? The Sanhedrin. They decide if to go to war or not. They ran the army. Okay, the biggest tzaddikim, 71 people. Or Egla Arufa, they would send people from there, or to extend Yerushalayim. Communal affairs, national affairs. What is the 23? A basin of 23 existed in almost every city, and they would judge even capital punishment cases. Mashenk and a basin of 3 are not called Sanhedrin. A small basin of 3 are not called Sanhedrin anymore. They're much lower status. And the basin of 3, they would just judge Dine Mominus. Only money matters and not capital punishment matters. That's basic Mishnah at the beginning of Sanhedrin, which we've done long ago. So that was just translation, glossary of Sanhedrin, Sanhedrin Ktana, and Beis Din. So now, if you know that the proposed shidduch is what? from her Zaidi, her Saba was in Sanhedrin, then he won the lottery, you hit the jackpot, you don't have to check anymore, not in his side of the family. My time, and why? How do you know that if he was a Dain in Sanhedrin, how do you know that he was not a Mamzer? Maybe. Tani of Yosef answers the Gemara of Yosef says, Kishem shebezdin menukin betzedek, just like bezdin are menuke betzedek, meaning the people who were selected to be in bezdin were tzedikim, right? Yisroi and the Kodesh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu a lot of requirements who should be a dayan, right? Gibor Chai, v'chule v'chule, tzadikim, yireim, all the good midos. Kach menukin mikol mum. They're also noki from blemish. It doesn't mean mum that they can't be chalila handicapped. It means mum as tarnished with tzadichus. They have to be both tzadikim and meyuchosim. They shouldn't have mum, some kind of defect in their yichus. Omar Marema, Micro. What's a pasuk? Where's your source? It's a pasuk in the Song of Songs of King Solomon. It says in Shir Hashirim, Kulach Yofa Rayosi Umum Ein Bach. Right? It says you're all beautiful, my beloved. You have no blemish. So now Rayosi, many times we know that Shir Hashirim is about Klal Yisrael, and many times it refers to Sanhedrin. Right? Right? Arei Maschitin. It says Goyer and Agula. Sanhedrin would be sitting in a U-shape. It's also hinted in Shir Hashirim. So when you talk about Sanhedrin, you talk about people who are as beautiful as the woman who has no mum. Yeah, mum. In other words, she has no blemish in the yichus. How do you know? No. Maybe they're allowed to be mamzerim, and last time I checked, the word mum means a physical blemish, a physical defect. Maybe it means the Sanhedrin shouldn't have somebody who's imputated, let's say, somebody who's half blind, Baal mum. Yeah, maybe that's what it means. How do you know it means mum, that the father's not a mamzer? Maybe it means to say, kipshutoi, the Beis are allowed to be mamzerim, but they're not allowed to be balimum. They can't be, handless. We're going to see another pasuk to support that. The siyatz v'sham imcho or imoch, I don't remember the words. Basically, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, we're going to see this in 2 weeks' time. Yeah, that Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, I'm going to bestow Ruach HaKodesh over 70 people besides you. They'll stand with you, and they too will get Ruach HaKodesh. They'll be leading the nation as like a Supreme Court, kind of, together with you. Remember, Moshe Rabbeinu complained, I can't take it anymore. They're being very difficult. Yeah, Moshe Rabbeinu says, where will I deal with so many people alone? Don't get confused. There are two incidents in the Torah that are similar but different. One time, Yisroi told Moshe Rabbeinu as a good interfering father-in-law, what did he say? You're working too hard. You won't be able to stand. You won't survive. And then Moshe Rabbeinu, with the advice and resource of Yisroi and Hashem's Zaskama, he started the system, right? Torah, Alofi, Meis, Chamishi, Masoros. There should be many, many, many small judges under him. What? Delegation. Thank you. That's the exactly right word. Passing the buck, delegation. And when you talk about the other incidents in Ba'aloischa, that is when Moshe Rabbeinu approached Hashem in his pain. Obviously, we can't understand the high level of Moshe Rabbeinu at all. And then Hashem said, okay, I'll get another 70 people with you to lead the nation as a Supreme Court with you. And that's the source, by the way, my friends, for a Sanhedrin of 71 people. 70 plus Moshe, 71. And they all had Ruach HaKodesh. Hashem shared Moshe Rabbeinu's Ruach HaKodesh with them. Spread it out. That's Elder Domeidad. Elder Domeidad were not chosen. That was the whole business. Yeah, they had Nevuah, but we're not in the Beis Din. So now, because the pasuk in this incident tells us, we're talking here about the Supreme Dayanim. And Hashem says they shall be with you. Imach b'doimim loch. They have to be similar to you. Just like Moshe Rabbeinu was extremely meyuchas, right? He was from the Levi, Amram and Yocheved. We know the story. They married, they remarried. It was kosher. It was from Yaakov, Levi. Just like you're meyuchas, so too they have to be meyuchasim. That's true, but the Dilma Mishum Shechina, maybe over there was a one-off incident. You can't derive from there to 2024. Why? Because there, the Shechina, over there, as I explained, they were not Stam Dayonim sitting to judge. They were Mamish Ba'al Ruach HaKodesh. They were close to Moshe, not as much as Moshe, but almost like Moshe Ruach HaKodesh. Maybe such holy, holy, holy people, you can't have the Shechina rest upon people who are Mamzerim. but maybe when it comes to regular dayanim, stam, dayan, nothing to do with Ruach HaKodesh, maybe he is allowed to be a mamzer. It says in the pasuk. Now this pasuk is from Yisroi. Ha 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 ha. Yisroi doesn't talk about heilige people. Could be even regular Talmid Chachamim who are in charge of 10 people. So Ruach HaKodesh, and even then it says, oh, even then Yisroi told him, you should ease the burden from you, and they'll carry the oil with you. So you see that those who are similar to Moshe, the dayanim, even regular dayanim, right, have to be similar to Moshe. Okay, very good. So now we definitely know about Sanhedrin. Yeah, like Lodun. Rashi says, yeah, okay, the Seder. Rashi, by the way, says here that dayanim of 3, meaning dayanim who are part of a regular monetary cases kind of based in a small local court of 3 people, they're allowed to be mimzerim. Yeah, okay. Only the Sanhedrin of 71 or 23 cannot be. That's Shittas Rashi. Second. Item. Yes, question time. Right. Let's continue. Here I have to confess, make a confession again. Yesterday I was too quick to explain the Mishnah based on something that I saw. Yasham Beganu Gazalnu. Basically, what did Mishnah say that we saw yesterday? So somebody whose ancestors were known to be shoitrei harabim, such a person you don't have to check any further. So shoitrim, not only in modern Hebrew, shoitrim in real Hebrew, Lashon HaKodesh means policeman. It's not a new Hebrew invention. Absolutely, shoiftim is shoitrim. Rashi says, look in the Chumash in Parashat Shoiftim. Shoitrim are those who hit the people. Today, the Israeli police are mekayim lemahadrin and mahadrin to hit people, even if they have to, they don't have to, especially if they're from, yeah. But Lamaisa shoiter is lashon shot. Or Zamir Cohen says shot is a whip. They like to whip everybody. So basically, so shoiter means what? Policeman. However, in this Mishnah, it's an exception to the rule, and here shoiter means dayanim of 3 people. In other words, a dayan who's a part of a contingent of 3 dayanim, he too, you don't have to check after him. And that is a question. What did we say a minute ago? That a beis din, a contingent of 3 people, you may have a mamzer over there. So if he found that Shprin Tzabela, the suggested shidduch, Herzeda was a dayan in a beis din of 3 people, regular, low, relatively low beis din, everything is fine. Why is everything fine? Are you telling me that even beis din of 3 people, you don't basically appoint a dayan who's apostle in a beis din of 3? Look, I'll show you different from Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin Lamed it says, "Hakol ksherim lo dun dinim omnes, then hakol ksherim lo dun dinim nefashos." Everybody, I mean, obviously knowledgeable enough, almost everybody can judge dinim omnes, and not everybody is what? Kosher lo dun dinim nefashos. What's everybody? The Gemara asked the question on the Mishnah, Hakol letuyemai. What exactly do you mean when you say anybody can judge? Who? And I'm and 8 years old. What do you mean everybody can judge dinei mominus? What do you mean? Anybody can be part of the beis din of 3 people of money, of monetary matters? No, letuye mamzer. No. As we said, when we say that anybody can judge in a beis din, can be part of a beis din of 3 dayanim, it means even a mamzer. Talmid Chacham, he learned dayanus as a mamzer. A mamzer, the word. Yeah, he learned and everything. He's a good guy. He's a mamzer. What is he? He may be part of a beis din of 3 people. He may not be part of Sanhedrin of 23 or 71, but he may be a dayan of a beis din of 3 people. If so, the question is very strong. Why are you telling me in the Mishnah that if the Zayda of the girl is a dayan of a beis din of 3 people, then it's all fine and all hanky-dory? Not true. Because he may be a mamzer, because we allow mamzerim to be the dayanim of a regular 3 people beis din. Answers the Gemara, Amar Abaye, Birushalayim. Yerushalayim had its own chumras and minhagim, and in Yerushalayim there a minhag not to accept the Beis Din even of 3 people. If it's a Yerushalmi Beis Din, only Michosim, no Mamzerim. That was their minhag, right? The Achronim explained, Bishorecho, in other words, the Medaik, something not so clear. Bekitzer, Yerushalayim is not a regular place. There's more Kedusha. The Dayanim, even of the relatively lower Beis Din in Yerushalayim, the minhag was to only accept Ksherim to the panel of Dayanim, not Mamzerim. The Chentani Rav Shimon Bar Zera, the Kiddushin de Levi. Rav Shimon Bar Zera learned he taught in the Braisa of Kiddushin of Levi. We know that the Mara the Braisa of Rav Chia and Rav Oshia, but Levi was the same generation. It was an earlier Mara. Levi wrote also a selection. He collected a selection of Braisas on Kiddushin, and there's a Braisa of Rav Shimon Bar Zera that says B'Yerushalayim, meaning same idea. In Yerushalayim, they were more particular about the level, the yichus of the dayanim, and if you know that your suggested shidduch, the father, grandfather, someone was a dayan in Yerushalayim, even a Beis Din of 3 people of money, then you can accept her with open arms as a shidduch, no problem on zero. Now we're going to answer Peretz's question. The following Gemara will answer a question from yesterday. We said that Gabbai Tzedakah are not necessarily very liked people. You know, they come, they bother you, they knock on your door, can you give tzedakah, tzedakah, tzedakah. So people don't like them. And therefore, if one of these tzedakah mitzvahs is really a mamzer, people would, tell that to his face or behind his back. And therefore, you assume that if the father, grandfather is a Gabbai Tzedakah and he has very clean record of yichus, means that nobody managed to dig up dirt, and therefore he must be clean and good. Now, so you're asking a question that, no, you're not asking, you were commenting. You said, well, no, some people are Gabbai Tzedakah, and they're still very respected in the community, and people like them. So listen to the following Gemara. The Gemara was written just for you. Like the Gemara in my time, what's the reason, first of all, that the Gabbai Tzedakah are so good, or not, are surely not Mamzerim? Says the Gemara, again, people fight with them. Yeah, there are miskanim, there are a sector of society that people like to fight with. Why? Oh, listen to this. It says, Mao says, we're not talking about nice, friendly British Baal Tzedakah so full of tact. You know how there were Mamashkin Tzedakah in the times of the Mishnah? If a person, according to halacha, if you live in a halachic state, when a person promises tzedakah to any cause, it's known in the community, and now he's taking his time. You know that there is a time limit. Do you know that when he gives tzedakah? Yes, I don't know exactly the halacha. Just like this Baal Te'acher of korbanos, he can't bring a korban too late, can't bring a tzedakah too late. I saw yesterday 1 year. I'm not sure what the source is. The soil of Melamed says 3 regolim. I'm not sure it's the same. Could be. But the kitzur comes a point when we lose patience with the tzedakah, with the pledger, I know all these terms from my previous profession. And what? And we go to his house and we say, Mister, we want a mashkon. You can't give us the £500,000 you promised to our kollel. You have a very nice $500,000 worth of car. Are the cars worth £500,000? Yeah, very good. All covered with gold. Yeah, let's say. So the kids say, we're going to take your car. Or we're gonna, whatever, you promised £500 for tzedakah too long ago. We're going to your house, we're gonna take your computer, £500 computer. Yeah. Okay? And you know what they do? They even come on Friday, even an inconvenient time. So when people have stuff taken out of the house, punkt erev Shabbos, when in the middle of showering the kids and in the middle of doing a million other things, they're not exactly happy. They're not exactly in their best position. The Im Isa, and they really don't like that guy who comes to take stuff from the house in the middle of Friday. The Im Isa, the Ika, yeah, if really there was any genealogical issue with this guy, the Gabbai Tzedakah, the collector, Isle Kolo, then we would have known about that. People get so upset with the Gabbai Tzedakah, who halachically is allowed to be somewhat aggressive or an inconvenience for the people. So had you been a mamzer, trust me, you would have known about it. If such a guy who's not really beloved by people still has no bad name b'chlal, you can be sure that really he's kosher. I just want to let you know one thing, and that is something halachic. Instead of sharing all my emotional issues with you, I'll tell you something halachic. I spoke to other fundraisers, and they told me we all agreed on one thing. The most annoying things from fundraisers. I mean, I don't mind if people just say no, they shut the door, good, goodbye, even better. Raponovich Rov said sometimes he likes to see to hear no that hear no and finish. The most annoying thing is when people schlep you and schlep you and schlep you and schlep you. That's inu yadin. Like I'll give you, and then again they say another month, another year, and in other words, and when you call them, it's like you're nagging them. You become the nag. You know what I'm saying? And then they get upset with you. Either give or don't give. And if you can't give, so don't promise. And we see it over here. At some point, in times of Beis Din, people would come to the donor's house and take away the stuff. Now we're going to talk about Gerim. So let's see if Gerim are allowed to be the leaders of the community. Story time. Ushpazichne de Rav Ada bar Ahava. What's Ushpazichne? Remember we once had an argument? Ushpazichne, I told you, means a host. Don't worry, you're not alone. Many people greater than us made the mistake. Ushpazichne means a host, as we're clearly going to see now. It doesn't mean a guest. Yeah, we see it here outright. I knew it just because I knew it from school, but this Gemara actually proves it very clearly. Ushpazichne means a host. Okay, you're going to see. Ushpazichne de Rabada Barava, the host, the one hosting Rabada Barava, big Talmud Chacham, Gyoy Rohava. He was a ger. The gracious host was a ger. He was the person who hosted him, and he was a ger. Very nice. The Hava Kamansi, that ger host, he would fight. He actually had a fight. Ihu, not a fist fight, an argument. Ihu the Rav Beivai. The ger and Rav Beivai, the Amoira, they had an argument. What was the argument? Mar Omar, ano avid Nasru demata. Mar Omar, ano avid Nasru demata. Each one said, in simple terms, I want to be the mayor of town. Yeah, each one said, I want to do the sraruta, the srara. Srara is authority. I want to be in charge of the authority of town to tell people, what to do and give the jobs to people. I shall be the mayor. And he said, I shall be the mayor. You think anything is new? It's not new. Each one said, I should be the mayor. Also, Lokamedo of Yosef, so instead of running for elections, and let the voters decide, there was a concept of democracy actually, but Shiva Tova here, that's not for now. They came to Rav Yosef. They came to Rav Yosef to decide who will be mayor of Avadia Yosef. Also, Lokamedo of Yosef, Amar Lehu, and he told them the halacha Tnina. We learned in the Brisa, Stoim Tosim Olecho Melech B'Kerev Achicha. When the Torah tells us to appoint a king, which is the mitzvah, reshus. But when you appoint a king, he has to be soim tosim. It says twice you should place, appoint on top of you a melech, mikerev achecha. What's mikerev achecha? From the inside, from amongst your brothers. But kerev also means, like the kishkes, from the inside of the nation, the inner circle of the nation. Which means whether it's a king, which has to come from Yehuda, or even Soim Tosim, we're including any kind of authority, should only be from a person who's a born Jew and not a ger. And soon we'll see later even other gerim, even a descendant. But a ger may not be a mayor. You're the mayor of a frum town, or lefi halacha. I'm not saying halacha l'maisa. I'm talking now in general. He should not be Mackenzie Shlita. Yeah, he shouldn't be a ger. Okay, so Lechoira, he won the elections. Rav Beivai, because the other one is a ger. Omar Ravada Barava. Now Ravada Barava felt that he should really defend his host, right? So Ravada Barava was there in Beis Din like a Toin Rabboni, and he said to Rav Yosef, Va'afilu imam Yisrael. Does that apply even if his mother is Jewish? In other words, his father is a ger and his mother is Jewish. Does that halacha still apply? Omar Le, no. Imai, if Imam Israel, if the mother is a born Jewess and he's coming from a ger and a Jewess, a Yidente, Mikerav Achecha Karina Bey. That's called Mikerav Achecha. Wow. In other words, and that's what the Rambam paskins. The Rambam paskins that a ger, if it's always ger, gioris, ger, only ger and gioris throughout, even 10 generations, the person cannot be melech or mayor, or we're going to see even other authoritative positions of authority. Once there's a Jewish woman entering the family, then it's okay. Yeah, then she kosherized, and her son could be the Rosh Memshole, can be the Rosh Iriyah, anything. Now, we're still in the middle of the Din Torah. So how did Levi decide? How did Rav Yosef decide? Thank you. How did Rav Yosef decide there are two potential mayors over here? Hilkach, therefore he paskins Rav Bevai, the Gavra Rabbahu. Listen, Rav Bevai is an Amoira, he's a great person. Le'ayin b'mila d'shmaya. We're going to split the authority, to split the responsibility. That Talmid Chacham should be in charge of the spiritual matters of town, such as the tzedakah, such as, for example, the haftarah in shul, deciding who's going to get the aliyahs in shul, also decided by him. He'll do the spiritual things, the ruchnias, the religious affairs. Masha'en ken. Well, what about the other one? Umar, you, Mr. Ger, la'ayin b'mila demata. He'll be in charge of the secular, so to speak, needs of the city, like the area, the split, the different responsibilities, different chairs, different offices. You'll do the mila demata, says Rashi, all the security. Rashi brings down the walls and the tolzina, the guards, the security. 1 second, you give me a minute. So basically, we split the authorities. Now, because his mother from Israel, that saved the day, and he got the high position. Omar Abai, thank you. Omar Abai, Hilkach, therefore, now Abai is giving us a bit of a musardiki idea. Man de mashri tzuvim d'rabonu b'ushpizochne. Oh, the one who is hosting a Talmid Chacham b'ushpazichne, a host. If you want to host a Talmid Chacham, it's worthwhile. Le'ashrei, it's better to host somebody k'Rav Ada bar Ava. Yodan lapech lebizchusei. If you host a Talmid Chacham, it's kidai, it's worthwhile to host somebody so good and so knowledgeable and so involved in din, like a Toyen, like Rav Ada bar Ava, that can mehapech, that can help him turn around the din, that can help him in court. It's kedai to be in touch with a Talmid Chacham that can help you when you have a tough court case. It's kedai to host such a person. Yes, questions? Yeah, I'm with you. Okay. Now we're going to see about Gerim. Excuse me. Intuition in Gashmis. Weiter. Okay. Now we're going to see something interesting. If you just follow the Gemara up until now, we see that Gerim are not supposed to be in charge of a real Ger who's 100% Ger on both sides, should not be in charge of anything. Yeah. In other words, even no, I'm not joking. Even the fact that he was allowed the Gashmisdika part of the authority of being a mayor, right? Only in charge of security and cleaning and all that, and not this mashma that if it was a ger, it wouldn't have been allowed. And that's what the Rambam paskins. We're going to see soon. Now we're going to see something very contradictory. It says now, Rabbi Zera metapel behu. Rabbi Zera, says Rashi, metapel behu. He would make sure that the gerim dafka would get srora. Interesting. Yeah, Rabba Baravua metapel behu. So we see there are Amoraim who actually made sure there would be fighting for the rights of the gerim and place the gerim in a place of good position. And the question is, it sounds very nice and democratic and liberal, but why? If the halacha says Som Tosem Alecha Melech, that gerim cannot be in charge of almost anything of power, of authority, how did these Amoraim actually do otherwise? So now you know what the halacha is? I'll tell you. The Meiri says we're talking here about metapel. They didn't let them be the only authority of that office. Metapel loshen tofel. They would basically tell them, you sit in a committee with other people. Let's say there's a committee of security, committee of running the kitchen. You need a whole committee, let's say. They can be part of a committee together with others. That's metapel. Or others say that the Adrama says that those gerim, the mother was from Israel, and the father was a ger. Some people were still racist against them, against halacha. If the mother is Jewish, you're allowed to make him mayor, or whatever you want, right? And those Amoraim made sure that those gerim got good positions because the mother from Israel. However, b'ma'arava, in Eretz Israel, let's continue. Afilu reish kuri lo mukmi minayu. In Eretz Israel, they were very strict and would not allow a ger, 100% ger, or a half ger. They would not allow them even to be in charge of the measures, of measuring. In other words, each town had a person would be in charge of making sure that the ko is a big measure, that the measurements are right. To check that the measurements, it's a very technical job. You don't have to be a big Talmid Chochem or a tzaddik or inspirational. Even that, they would not allow the ger to be in charge of. He can be maybe part of a different body, but he cannot be in charge of that. In Arda, even resh gerguta, even the person who decides who will use the water, they had irrigation water that was limited, right? There was a well of water. Sunday goes to Reuven, Shimon goes to Monday goes to Abinovich, Tuesday goes to Atias. Who decides? Oh, again, cannot be even in charge of the water company in its old version. Even that, lo mukmi, we don't put from them. Halacha, the Rambam says yes. The Rambam says if a ger is 100% ger from both parents are gerim, as long as we don't have a real Yiddish shemame involved in the family, then the ger, as much as we respect the ger and we love the ger and we give him what he wants, comes to authority, we don't give them authority. I once heard a shkafic idea. I don't know if it's true. I'm not sure who says that gerim, although it's a ger and gal kikotan shenoilod, they still have their all kinds of they have their residues from the previous lives. They have different ideas, goyish ideas, goyish hashkofos, so even the son may still get it. As long as there's no Jewish mother who's born Jewish, there's still some kind of glass ceiling over here, and that's halacha. However, I saw modern day sforim. They say you're allowed to, let's say, make a ger a mashgiach kashrus, although it's an authority. Oh, why? Because the mashgiach kashrus who works under the great rabbi of the kashrus, yeah, he only receives orders from the top person. So even if he's also considered top, but he's not really deciding who will do this, who will do that. He's not giving aliyos or he'll get the water. He's not really deciding amongst people who will do this and that. It's more about the technical side of the kashrut. I'm sure you have a lot to say about that if we had more time, but this is what I said. What? What do you mean? I'm talking about a man ger. Now, a woman meshgicha kashrut is the tshuva b'Rav Moshe, that she can be, and he explains why. We're not talking about women now. That's another thing. Rabbi Yossi Omer af mi shehoyo. Rabbi Yossi said whoever was signed as an aid, as a witness in the Beis Din of Ir Yeshana, he too, we know 100%, he's not a mamzer. He can clearly marry his girl, his granddaughter. Why is that? The Beis Din would make sure that not that you have to halachically. That Beis Din was so particular in that one city in the north, in the Tzipori, in Yeshana, they had their shtick, and they said only an aid that's 100% kosher, no mamzeres, he can sign. And therefore, if he signed, he's not a mamzer. Rabbi Chanina ben Antignos, the last but not least part of the Mishnah, Rabbi Chanina ben Antignos, af mi shoy muchta b'strate shel melech. People who went to the army of Beis David, not today's army. Today's army is very different to the army of David HaMelech in many ways. If you were drafted to the army of David HaMelech, we know you're not a mamz, and you're not a mamz, not a nosi, not a shtuki, not a kuki. Yeah, we know for sure that you are okay if you are in the base. Yeah, if you're in the army of David. By the way the army used to work then, but David HaMelech, one of the million differences, there were no 3 years draft and then you go home. But everybody that were kosher enough would go to the army 1 month a year, like drafts, like a bit like miluim, more or less. Yeah, 1 month a year you go to the army, and the rest of the year you're not. 11 years you do whatever you want. 1 month you're drafted with a group. Now those drafts they would call this and that family has to be drafted in Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev, and family. They made sure that the family is a kosher family, and soon you're going to see why. Amar V'Yudam Amar Shmuel, B'chelo shel Beis David. We're talking, as I said, the soldiers of Beis David, of the army of David HaMelech. They were not mamzerim, they were miyuchosim. Omar v'Yosef, my kro. Give me a pasuk. How do you know? It says, "V'tyachsam b'tzava b'milchama lehityaches." In other words, they got their yichus right. Yeah, when they would draft them to the army, they would ask them, "Bring the papers. Show me that you are not a mamzer or a nosin." The time am I? Who cares? The guy knows how to fight. He can fire a gun very well, and he has muscles. Who cares about his yichus? Amar Vidu Amarav, we want the soldiers to have their own zchus and the zchus of their fathers. In other words, when they go to war, a Jewish war is not a physical war. It's always a spiritual war. and we want the zechus of their fathers to be Messiah. If that soldier is a nice guy and he's full of muscles and he knows how to fire the gun, but his father is not a nice guy, and his mother are mamzer creators, he has no zechus in the battlefield. Yeah, they're gonna what's gonna do in Rafiach? Frag the Gemara, Vaikat Seleka Amoini. Seleka Amoini was one of the people in the Chelis based David. Amoini. Amoini means he was a ger from Amoin. My love, the Osim Amoin. Oh, so you see, there was a soldier called Selek, and he was an original Amoini. That's even worse, all right? A ger Amoini. His mamish can't even get married with normal Jewish woman. Loi, and says the Gemara, the Yosef Amoin. He's a person who lived in Amoin. Now there's a Jewish guy, both father and mother are Jewish, very frum people. He lived in Amoin, in a section of Amoin in Jordan. The Gemara, Uri Achiti, he's a famous guy, Bathsheba's husband. Uri Achiti, he was he fought and he died at war, and we all know the story, right? And he was under Yoav. Uri Achiti, my love, Dosi Miches, was a ger from Chet. He was a Hittite ger. So you see that Gerim came to war, and he was a very central person in the army. And says Gemara, the Yosef Beches. No, he was actually sitting in the area of the Chitim, but he was born Jewish. Although that's a question. Continues the Gemara. Vaika Itai Hagiti. Oh, we're talking about Itai Hagiti. That we assume was the ger from Gat. Gat was from Plishtim. Gat is one of the 5 cities of the Palestinians. Yeah. Ashdod, Ashkelon, Aza, Ekron, and Gat. These are the 5 cities of the Philistines. So Itagiti, don't tell me now that you just lived in Gas. Are you going to tell me the same story as you told me before, that he was a 100% Jewish person and he just happened to live, in Gaza there was a Jewish community. There's a shul there with the Sefer Torah. Yeah, we all heard. So maybe he's a Jewish guy who lived in Gas. No, you can't say that. Now listen to the shock of your life. In Sanhedrin Memdal, in Avodah Zarah Memdal, those of you remember, it says that Ita Agiti was actually a goy. He was a Noahide. He was a goy. He was a goy, and he was David's friend. What was his job? Ba ubitla. Whenever David the Melech and his soldiers found a place with Avodah Zarah, what did they do? They should really, halachically, cancel and hit the Avodah Zarah, but they can't. In other words, a Jewish person cannot, unless you break it to smithereens, but if you just mevatel the chashivus to cancel out the Avodah Zarah, yeah, you have to do something symbolic, to break the nose or something, to show that Avodah Zarah is nothing. A Jewish person cannot do that. You have to have a goy to cancel the Avodah Zarah, because that's an Avodah Zarah made by goy. By the way, a Avodah Zarah made by Jew cannot be cancelled ever, unless Imam met to smithereens. A Yid is a strong guy. But a goy, if you have a goy who manufactured Avodah Zarah, only another goy can come and take away its importance. Can actually say that's a garnished. I throw mud in its face. Yeah, I drag it through the mud. So therefore, Itai Agiti, that was his job, precisely because it was a goy, right? He would go with them to war, right? He would go to war with them and be mevatel of the Zarah. But wait a second, but we see there was a goyish person in the army. It's very nice that he had that side job to cancel the Avodah Zarah, to annul the Zarah. But Lamaise would also fight with them. So we think. So how do you have a goy fighting? He's not miyuchas. And the oid. And another question on top of that. This is interesting. It doesn't mean his own children. David had in his army, not his own, 400 young boys, not little kids. He had, 19, 20 years old people. The Kula B'nei Yefas Toyer Hoyu. All of them were different children from all of Israel. The common denominator was they were the children of Yefas Toyer. Different people would marry what Yefas Toyer? A Goyish woman that you found at war, and you converted her to Yiddishkeit. Usually those Yefas Toyer women were not so Yerushalayim. And because the children of Yefas Toyer were not the cream and crop of society, they were not the creme de la creme of society. The kula mistaprim koimi, umegadlim bloiris. They had a goyish haircut. You're not allowed to have a goyish haircut. With bloiris, either means in the front you have a lot of hair, or in the back. They would keep like the ponytail in the back, which is the minhag goyim. And because their mothers were not so frum, they, like Yifas Toya, they would have a goyish haircut, and Davka, those people, David would draft to his army. The kulam yashvim kronios shozov. They would sit like in carriages of gold. They would actually go on the front of the line, in front of the row. They would lead the army at war. Those people looked like goyim, and they would sit in those fancy chariots. The Henen Bale Groifim Shel Beis David, and they were the fist people, the strong, mighty people of Beis David. I'm going to explain everything, but Lamaisa, the question is, we see that there were people who were definitely not miyuchosim, children of Yifas Toyar. They're okay, maybe they're kosher. She was Megayer. By the way, according to Rashi, you're allowed to be with her one time before she was Jewish. Yeah, in Kiddushin, we saw Daf Chof around there, Chof 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 Aleph. So it's not so simple. So okay, they're Gerim, definitely not good stuff, right? And yet they were the first ones. They were not the commanders. They're the ones fighting, in the head of the line. They were the arrowheads. They were the arrowheads at war. So, the spearheads. Thank you. They were the spearheads at war. So what do you see? You don't need miyuchosim. And says the Gemara, the azli lebiuti alma. They actually didn't go to war. They didn't actually fight. To mamish fight, you need zchus ovois. They don't have zchus ovois. The mother is just a pretty girl who's trying to make someone sin when she was young. No yichus. They only went there to scare off the goyim. I saw, because I once gave shiur on that, and I looked again and I found it. A sefer called Mishoris Moshe is one of the Meforshim on the Rambam, and he explains as follows. First of all, how are they allowed to have a goyish haircut? Because his mother influenced him badly? It looks like it's encouraged by David. Yeah. Because they looked like goyim, they looked like the mothers. They had goyish appearance, goyish style, and they were big and strong. So because of that, says in Mishoris Moshe, usually goyim look at Jews as weak people. So who are you going to put in front of the line to scare off the goyim? Some Hasidic guy, some guy from Ponevezh with a hat and jacket? Obviously not. You have to give the goyim the appearance, the impression that we are employing a paid army of goyim against them. So the goyim think, these Jews, they actually are like a hitman, but an army hitman, like a paid soldier. Yeah? A mercenary. How do you call it? Mercenary. Right, mercenary. I heard the word. That we have an army of mercenaries that are big and strong from other goyim. That would scare them off. You talk to them in their own language. And that's why they were allowed to have the komi, that funny Osir haircut, because it was to save Jewish lives. That's what was allowed. But in any event, the question is not a question anymore regarding what we asked before. They didn't fight. To fight, mamish, kill the Gazans, you need somebody with yichus. But in order to scare them off, anyone can do that. What about Itay Agiti? Same thing. Itay Agiti never fought. He never held a gun in his hand. Never, not a gun, because it didn't exist. Not even a spear or a sword. His job was to break it over the Zara. Okay, very nice. He would sit in his office. He wasn't actually in the front line. No problem. You can have goyim in the army as long as they don't fight. Those who fight have to be miyuchosim. This is probably the source of what you keep telling me all the time, that in the army of David, only the tzaddikim went to war. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say the tzaddikim went to war. It says that meyuchosim went to war. Those who had good yichus, they would go to war, because Malchus Beis David, who told David to go to war? Usually, Urim V'Tumim, Beis Shivim Echad, and everybody in the army was Shomer Shabbos, Shomer Kashrus, amazing mitzvah, we won't go into all the political questions. And then you had Meyuchosim in this army, and David won all these wars. Maybe we win this war also, because the soldiers that we have are all tzaddik. All the soldiers in Gaza, Baruch Hashem, tzaddik and Gvorim, they fight for us. We fight for them. We are energizing them with our Torah. We have to be bigger tzaddikim than we are. Yeah, to help everyone fight the war and win the war very, very quickly. Hatzlacha uvracha. Thank you, Baruch. Have a great day. Peace and love. Shkoyach. Thank you to those who watch us all the way through in Torah Anytime and in YouTube. Agroise shkoyach, and have a great Shabbos. See you on Sunday.